Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of UFO Man Live. My name is Tim, or UFO Man, and my co-host is Tom Reed. Tom?
Hey, how you doing, guys? And Tim, thank you for having me. And today we have an extraordinary guest, Caroline Cory, and we're going to talk with her a little bit about her new film, A Terror in the Sky. Thanks for coming on.
Hey,
Yes.
and thanks for having me, you guys.
You're more than welcome. What we're going to do is just put up your poster here real quick.
Okay.
This is her background, except her background's a little more detailed. But A Terror in the Sky came out May 3rd. It was released. There are several access points where you can rent or purchase this film. It is a very good film. I was very impressed with the footage. And Caroline, you did a wonderful job. Wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to share it with the world.
Yeah, I think that we'll get it out to some people tonight. In regards to yourself, could you tell us a little bit about your background? Like, for instance, I was kind of wondering about your precognition experiences or your consciousness exploration and how it led you to where you are today.
Yeah, so everything happened for me very organically. As a child, I started having experiences. Actually, the first contact experience was with a group of beings. I was just there, and all of a sudden, I kind of felt those beings, and I realized we were connected, like we were communicating or something. And it wasn't scary, it wasn't weird, it was actually familiar. It felt like, oh, this feels good, it's so much better than the humans around me, so because of that, I kind of kept my attention on what was happening, and that experience was very important in the sense that it got me to think, how is it possible that the mind or the consciousness could tap into something that's technically invisible or impossible or non-physical and all that? And so I got into the field of consciousness mechanics, the science of consciousness. And later on in college, I studied psychology to make sure I wasn't crazy, because that's the first thing you think, like, how is that? And so, but of course, everything was fine. And I realized that this is what consciousness does. I started to understand the concept of entanglement, quantum mechanics, remote viewing, all of that. So I literally spent 20 years researching this entire field, working with so many people who had similar experiences and getting validation after validation after validation, that at one point you have to just say, this is real. Let's stop worrying about who says what, and let's see if we can get validation. So I started to make films on these topics, and the way to bring validation to a paranormal subject, to make it normal, is to bring science. And so as a filmmaker, that kind of became my signature, like, what kind of science can we bring to the subject, and how do we bring it so that it becomes more measurable, more validated, more acceptable, more relatable. And that's exactly what I did in my previous film, Superhuman. But this film, A Terror in the Sky, I did the same thing with the subject of UFOs. And I think we succeeded, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There is a lot of groundbreaking evidence in your new film, and people should go out and see it. Definitely. What do you think, Tom?
Well, from what I've seen and the conversations I've had with Caroline in the past, I told her it was in many ways historic, and I really truly believe that. I mean, the footage and what she was able to capture in a week's time, basically, tells you so many things. Not only that they caught something very tangible and indisputable, but also that our U.S. government must have already known for a long time, because if they can get this much, and they've got a lot, if they get that much in 1 week, then that's very telling as to what our government has. So it wasn't just so much, the film that she wanted to shoot, but all the things that lined up with what she was able to take from that tells you so much about so many other things. And that's really what I found to be so compelling as well, that she proved a lot
The
more.
Right.
implications, yeah, the implications of what it is that we found and how we found it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're actually going to have the first public hearing
I
on the
know.
17th of May at 9 in the morning. That's a telltale sign right there that they're trying to push the narrative or even control it, which is something I'm kind of concerned about. But yeah, your film was very eye-opening. The fact that you found correlation between the 2004 Nimitz encounter and some of the footage that you found that's in your film, that's very indicative of truth.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought it was,
At the perfect time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, like, we didn't go out thinking, oh, we're gonna capture this. It's so funny, people who know how documentaries work. It's not like a scripted thing where you know exactly what you're supposed to say and what's gonna happen. Documentary is real, it's reality. So we went out to the same area because obviously I had Kevin Day, who was the radar man on the USS Nimitz. He was the first one to witness those Tic Tac UFOs. And then later, there were other ships as well, 2014, 15, 17, USS Omaha, USS Kidd, all finding, actually, one of the ships had swarms of these Tic Tac like UFOs. Even Kevin Day was saying at one point it was raining. They were just like coming down, those same shape Tic Tac like objects. And so it made sense to go back to the same area since there was so much kind of history. But the odds of exactly at that time in those 5 days to capture exactly those same UFO, like, traveling against the wind in the same way. I mean, what are the odds?
And then lighting up the water. When they hit, they actually lit up the water.
Yes. And some of them were literally, I've never seen footage like this out there. That's why I'm very excited about this film, because, normally UFOs, you see orbs and you see things zigzagging and you see triangles, but I've never seen these types of things going against the wind, Tic Tac like. I mean, I'm talking civilians,
Right.
other than those Navy
Right.
ones, or like the things appearing, disappearing, things raining down. And of course, that last thing at the end of the film, which is like crazy. I'm not going to give it away so early in the
Right.
show, but
Right. Yeah, what you found, some of it I've seen before, like the Tic
yeah,
Tacs going against the wind. But in regards to the raining down, I've never seen before. So that's
yeah.
really cool. And the fact that that correlates with an actual encounter witnessed by servicemen, that vindicates them. And that's awesome. Yes, Kevin Day felt vindicated.
Yes, absolutely. And so the odds of us capturing was already like just 50-50 really. And when we did, it was like, oh my God, we wanted to come back to the area because this is what happened, but we actually relived the experience in real time. And that was like, that did it for Kevin Day. It was like, that's it. I don't care who they are, where they come from. Is it us? Is it them? Is it extraterrestrial? All what we've proven is that I wasn't crazy. We're not crazy.
Yeah.
These things are happening in this location and most likely in other locations.
Right.
He felt totally like he was complete.
And then you had the endothermic reactions.
Yes.
and I don't know how many other people are aware of this, but this is from our, our conversations before, where not only was it not giving off heat, but it was absorbing heat. These vessels that you filmed, and then they also bent light, as it was described earlier in a conversation. That was like putting a stick in water. You see it bend, and that's how. So endothermic also bends light as well as drawing in heat. So it almost looks like it disappears.
Exactly. Well, when if you're bending light, then the visual spectrum is not, you're not catching it within the visual spectrum. So it's going to look, yeah.
All of this is just so freaking cool. It's like you got so much in like 5 days. It's like unbelievable.
We actually have that piece of footage.
I'm dead serious. It's amazing what you were able to prove in 5 days.
Yes. Has everybody seen the trailer also?
Yeah, I can play the trailer. Here we go.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, cool.
Kind is an insatiable curiosity. Insatiable. What is that? Nobody knows. The phenomenon.
Nobody's ever done this as far as I know.
It's a huge amount of work, a huge amount of data and equipment that has never been done.
Whatever this is more complex than we could ever imagine.
This is a first in the field of ufology.
The variety of devices we're bringing as a team to study the phenomenon covered an entire spectrum of different technologies in real time.
That moment shook me to the core because I knew my life was about to change again.
I think we're going to have like a couple of really, really good spots.
When I hear that you've assembled a team of top scientists using state-of-the-art equipment, I say to myself, it's about time.
This is an unidentified, unclassified new phenomenon.
Wow. Tic Tacs. Maybe Tic Tacs.
Maybe.
Caught on our cameras. Yep. That's incredible.
Crazy. It isn't crazy, it's crazy. It's crazy.
We can go from body heat to very cold, like about -62 Celsius or -80 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
We will be transmitting data up to 800 terahertz in frequency. Our highest technology is up around 500 gigahertz.
I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to seeing what you've uncovered.
We're triangulating and converging at 2 points, the same object.
It's fading.
It's gone. It's gone. It's friggin' gone.
Something over, Catalina. We need you up here.
We could be heading towards the biggest "see I told you so" in history.
That's what we need, the smoking gun that'll clinch it. That once and for all will settle the debate. No ifs, ands, or buts. And in the process, rewrite all of human history.
Oh my God, you guys. Is this the wormhole? It's insane.
Wow. I've watched that several times now, and that is a really good trailer.
Powerful.
Very powerful, yes. People need to go see that film, yes.
It actually won several awards, the trailer on its own.
Wow.
I believe it.
Great reviews.
Very good.
Yeah, amazing reviews. From also what I like about that is this is mainstream. It's not just UFO fans, just into it, which of course we want that too. But I love the idea that even the mainstream is really enjoying this and liking it and, picking it, kind of selecting it to be in film festivals. That's huge. The reviews have been amazing. I mean, there's always one person who's not gonna, but
aren't you still number 2 on Amazon?
On iTunes, I think we're number 3 now because there's a new musical something that came out. But we're gonna climb back up.
Hopefully, we'll get you to number 1. Tom was talking. Let's take a step back. Tom was talking about bending light.
Yes.
And about that object that was bending light, and I do have that piece of footage
Yes.
that you so graciously allowed us to use.
Yes.
Here's that piece of footage for everybody to take a look at.
Endothermic.
This is an endothermic reaction because the object is black and it's showing no signs of heat. So here we go.
And then check this out. We have a object that it'll appear in the frame.
What is that?
You see that?
Yeah.
What is strange is it's registering cold in the thermal camera. So it's over several pixels, and it has some motion to it. It looks like it rotates or tilts and appears and then dissipates out of the frame.
That's even weirder than the other things you showed me.
Yeah.
That is an awesome object, whatever that was.
What do you make of that? So yeah, no, it appears, it tilts. So you see a distinct shape, and then it just disappears. And while it's there, it registers cold.
Now, when it disappeared, was there still a cold spot? Was it just gone and it was still registering a cold spot, or did the temperature in that area go back to what its surrounding area was?
That's a good point. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we can look at it in the raw footage.
Right.
I don't remember looking at it actually, because I mean, that would be interesting.
If it camouflaged itself and was still actually there, like almost like a stealth type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so fascinating. Yeah, I mean, it's very easy for us to go back to the raw footage. And by the way, for those who are listening, all the footage was not changed in any way. I mean, of course, when we zoom in, we say it's zoomed in, but that's not changing the pixels. We haven't done anything. It's exactly the way it was captured. So we can go back and see what happens with the temperature. Does it drop right away? Does it stay after? That's a great question. I love that, Tom. I'm going to have to check on that and let you know.
Thank you.
Tom, they're saying in the chat that your audio is down too low. Can you turn it up a little, please?
Okay. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I kept it where it was.
You. Okay. What I was going to say about that footage that we just played, it didn't look like one object. It looked like two separate pieces.
Interesting.
Now, because there was that separation toward the front, either it was two separate objects or it was showing some type of cloak. Because that was missing there, and it was very difficult to tell what that was. I have no idea what that was, but when I saw it, it didn't look like one continuous object.
Yeah, you know what? It's possible. Now that I remember, I'm actually the one who found it first, and I sent it to them, but they weren't paying attention to me at the time. So what happened was, we were filming and looking at footage and analyzing stuff, and then after we came back, we're looking at footage again, because it was like so much that we captured. So, but I remember, it looked like there was two separate things. I'm going to have to go back and really, really study that again. And people can at home, when they watch the film, they can slow it down and see even more what that, if it is two objects or not. I'm not surprised. Yeah. But
Well,
the fact that it tilts, that's fascinating.
And
I was thinking it could have been one object, but two segments that were separate. Were separate, but were flying next to each other.
Or it could be one object whose temperature of the vessel itself varies.
Yes, that could be two. That could be two, because white can indicate a certain kind of temp. Yeah.
You're full of good ideas, Tom.
Well, thank you.
But that's, I mean, now we're chit-chatting and talking, and but that's what this is about. That's the reason why I put this film out there, to bring that sort of data and have discussions and brainstorm and have experts look at this and say, what about this? How about that? How does, is this about light bending? Is this about something else? So I'm just loving this. This is exactly what is meant to happen with this film.
If I may, okay, so in any of the footage that you recovered or have an opportunity to look at, because I know you've got a lot more that you're still mining from, correct? There's a lot there to mine from. And with respect to anything that you actually have seen personally, is there anything that would indicate an entity, or was it pretty much just vessels and orbs and?
You mean an intelligence behind it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Some of them, some of them one of them is in the film, if you recall. It comes in frame, and then it turns around and then leaves frame.
Right.
And then it comes back. I remember that one because it felt like literally like it knew that we were looking at it, and then said, wait, I mean, but again, can I prove that? I don't know how, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where so it just felt literally like it was responding. And you hear this a lot, even Kevin Day, even the commander Fravor, and you hear that from other pilots and other people who would tell you, I felt like it knew that I was talking to it or looking at it. So I'm not the only one that says that. And yes, so one of those objects I remember very well, and other things as well, had that sort of quality,
Mm-hmm.
Your consciousness training should indicate that there is some type of connection there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to describe. It's hard to explain. It's just like, it's just something is happening. You can tell, you think, oh, is it going to do this? And it does it. It's like, what?
Almost biologically connected.
Yeah, exactly. And I did have another experience, not during the filming, where this was so obvious. I don't know if I told that story last time on your show, Tom, or somewhere, but for example, one time I was outside, I felt that there was something there. So I ran outside. It was 9 p.m. and I saw these 3 orbs. They were like bouncing off of each other. And so right away, my reaction was, what is that? Is that like some sort of intelligence telling me something? So I started to think, project my thought. And I said, well, if you are an intelligence, then show me something that you're hearing me or sensing me or whatever. And so all of a sudden, the 3 balls became 4, then became 6, then became 8. I was like, okay, coincidence or not? I could tell there was a connection, but I wanted more, right? Yeah. So I said, okay, well, show me more. So I started walking, in like one direction for half a mile. And this thing was literally hovering up above me for like a half a mile. And then literally we were having this direct conversation. Then I changed direction. I went half a mile in a totally different direction. And this thing was hovering right above me. So come on, it's like the coincidence.
Where was that?
When was that? Or where?
Where? Yeah.
Where?
Utah. I was in Utah at the time.
Oh, Utah State.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Utah has a lot of stuff. And so I've had so many of these experiences that, and people who do know what that's like. It's a feeling, it's a sensation that you have made that connection and they're hearing you.
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes because I started practicing CE5 meditation in regards to trying to call them in. And one time I actually had a gigantic orange ball of light fly directly over my building where I live. It blew my mind. It actually came in. So I think that they are indeed in contact with us and they know our intent. So if we project a good intent, perhaps they will communicate more.
Yeah, exactly. And, like going back to my 5-year-old story, I mean, like it was a spontaneous thing. Like at 5 years old, nobody teaches you, yeah, you can communicate telepathically, like it's like, so it just happened to me. And I think one of the reasons why it happened to me is for me to remember and to keep asking about the phenomenon, to try to understand how that's possible, because it's real. And so, yeah, there's a definite instantaneous connection, and it's on a visceral level. It's not like you and I are communicating. You meet somebody you don't know for the first time. You have to give them your business card, like, hello, my name is this. I come from that star system. Right. It's not like that. It's consciousness is entangled, throughout space and time, that when you do come in contact with something, some intelligence, it's a spontaneous energetic exchange. And it's that exchange that allows you to be heard and allows them to know everything about you as well.
Right.
And it also steers your future. It gets you so connected with the phenomenon that I wouldn't say it overtakes you, but it becomes embedded in everything that we do from that point on. And it's remarkable, because it happened, that's how I feel too, with what happened to my brother as well. So you have that experience, and it just becomes part of who you are.
I have to say that the experiences I've had have just changed my worldview completely. Yeah. My paradigm has shifted already. So it's kind of like the reason why I became who I am. And my mission has been to find people who have had the same experience. I've found a lot of people that have had experiences, but not exactly the same. And that's intriguing, but still disappointing. I keep looking for the same vehicles I saw.
Yeah.
And I have not yet. I hope to someday. That's why I am interested in your consciousness training, because it allows people to reach out to the cosmos and actually try to communicate with whatever is there. And that's important.
Yeah, I mean, we are communicating. That's the thing. We are energetically communicating with everything that's out there, and it is communicating back with us. We're like an antenna, and we have an energy field, and the planet has an energy field. So it's like it's all electricity and magnetism, and we're all interconnected in that way. So why is it so crazy to think that information could be transferred from one biological body to another, one consciousness to another? It's all electricity and magnetism, We know that entanglement has been proven scientifically. So to me, consciousness works in the same way. If anything, a consciousness is fundamental, and it's consciousness that is making entanglement happen. In other words, the two physical particle exchanging properties at a distance happen because of a universal law, that it's behind it. There is a mechanism, and that's the universe that is entangled. And that entanglement is really, it's all consciousness. Yeah. From consciousness emerges the physical world, and not the other way around.
It's human Bluetooth.
Exactly. So, yeah, but I just want to comment on one quick thing that you said, Tim, that we want to communicate with anything that's out there. I don't know if we want to communicate with just anybody.
Right.
I would say let's be a little bit more selective, but yeah.
Yes, I agree on that. I mean, let's communicate with the benign, non-aggressive races. That's what I was thinking. But I wanted to mention something about quantum entanglement. In regards to that, the Hopi Indian nation actually had a tale they told that actually indicated that all the planets were connected like by a giant spider web.
Yes.
And that spider web is energy, and that goes throughout the entire galaxy, the universe. So anything that happens here on Earth is transmitted along that web. So if you have something traumatic happen on Earth, it vibrates the web, and it affects everything. So that also applies to consciousness. in my opinion. What do you think, Caroline?
Oh my God, I have a whole theory on that. In fact, it's in the previous film. People should check that out. And I lecture about this. I call it the planetary grid. So it's a web, literally a web, a patterning of space-time itself. There is web-like that wraps around the planet, but then it's kind of a system, a network of information that continues on with other planets and with the galaxy. So it's almost like we are part of this much larger web communication system that is all geometric. And so that is the reason why, even though we are here on the Earth, we're still interconnected at a galactic and universal level. And whatever we do here affects that, and whatever happens there affects us. That is the reason why people say, oh, what do the extraterrestrial want with us? Like, why do they care? Yeah, because to me, it's one giant web, one giant body, celestial body, within which are individual planets, individual stars, individual suns, so on and so forth. So if you look at it like your physical body, okay, so it's one body. If the liver, for example, starts to go crazy and starts to self-destruct, this one part of the whole body, then the entire body gets affected. You get sick, right? And it's the entire body that's going to react. Your immune system is going to kick in. It's going to send all the chemicals and all the endorphin, all the whatever, the chemical, biological reaction that the body needs to correct the organ, the liver. Does that make sense? So in this way, if the planet Earth is messing up, is self-destructing for one reason or another, the biological, so the immune system of the galaxy and the universe is going to go, oh, something down there is messing up the entire body. We need to do something. Does that make sense? And the immune system of the universe kicks in for planet Earth to self-correct, self-repair, and realign with the whole.
Yes, I agree. Tom?
Yeah, that's actually, I wrote about that a little bit, and I'm trying to start a book and to preserve what happened with us. And I used the body as an example as well, to kind of describe how we're all connected, and if one piece goes, it all goes, and it's like domino effect, so either plug the hole or it's going to be disastrous. And I know exactly what you mean. Also, I think if memory serves, you had said something about not only the web but the points of triangles and the areas within that web that seem to be high traffic areas, and if you want to discuss that a little bit. I remember you telling me about it, but for the listeners on now, maybe you could explain it better than I can.
Yeah, so I have actually the algorithm of this whole planetary structure, and people can go to my YouTube channel. Actually, I just have a small animation. They can look at it on my YouTube channel. It's pretty cool, to kind of visualize through this animation. They can plug in the planetary grid, and they'll see that animation, or in my film called Among Us, they can see that, and they will see that it's based on the vector equilibrium, which is a tetrahedral structure. And so from that base structure, which is tetrahedron, you can create an entire map. It's kind of like it comes out based on the tetrahedron. You begin to see the other structures kind of being built on that in a perfect geometric pattern. So everything is coherent from the first tetrahedron all the way up to the entire planetary structure. It ends up being 3 grids within one larger grid. It starts at the core of the planet and expands out above the surface, about 7,000 miles above, around the surface of the planet, which is actually between the 2 Van Allen belts, basically. So when you look at this structure, because it's all geometry, you start to see these patterns, and they're all based on the original base, which is tetrahedron, which is triangles. And so what starts to be very fascinating is that the points where all the tetrahedron, all the triangles meet are vertex points. And these vertex points kind of divide space and time, meaning when you are exactly at those specific points, you are outside time space. You're no longer as part of the linear space time. I'm kind of explaining all of this. It's a long mathematical conversation. I'm trying to keep it very simple and summarize it. But long story short, the patterning of space around us is based on a specific geometry that has specific vertex points, meaning nodes that allow you to come in and out of our space-time reality. That's why the UFOs know about these points. That's why they appear specifically at these points. And it looks from our perspective that they suddenly appeared and suddenly disappeared. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So just if I can jump in here for a second. So for those listening, to simplify it, there are triangle points.
Yes.
And there are certain spots within this makeup of hundreds of thousands of triangles within the larger triangle.
Yes.
And if you're at these particular points,
yes,
you're pretty much you can flip on a physical aspect or more of a paranormal aspect. So you can go either way. Is that kind of what you're saying in a layman's terms?
Exactly. It's like so these nodes, these vertex points are like miniature wormholes, you know. If you go exactly within this vertex, if you go into that particular node, yes, correct, you bypass time and space.
Okay. Did your listeners get that? Because I'm sure the way you were describing it, some were going, what? You know,
yeah.
for good reason. It's very involved. But yeah, I get that. And I think there's really something to that, because if I'm not mistaken, there are certain points even within our country where you can kind of see a lot of activity. So maybe there's those triangle points that you're mentioning are actually among us as well.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people talk about, there's light reflecting here. A lot of people talk about ley lines. You know, they say, oh, we're finding these specific lines, but they're only looking like kind of on the surface of the planet. But we don't live in a 2D world. We live in a 3D, in fact, multi-D, world. So these points aren't only on the ground where, equipment stops, functioning, things break down, engines turn off, exactly in these spots. So these points are on the ground, but they're also above us and below us. Okay. And so, yeah. And so, and these nodes, these points is exactly where we see UFOs and all sorts of anomalies appear and disappear. And we've also heard a lot about USOs underwater. Mm-hmm. So that tells us that these nodes, these points are all around us. And the catalyst, go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to ask you this too. So everything that we're talking about, at least what I'm getting from this too, is that there's a lot to be said for electromagnetic fields, correct?
Yes.
And how that can, tear this. And well, what about the electromagnetic field that protects Earth? Do you think that because we have that electromagnetic field that protects our planet, that some of these triangular points, if you will, that allow us to go from one reality to another could be affected in why we don't have as many? Because our planet actually protects itself through that same philosophy.
No, you're talking about two different things. The fact that the magnetic field protects the Earth from radiation from the sun or things like that is one thing. But even that structure is based on geometry. In other words, like these points aren't like leaking radiation or anything like that. It's the opposite. Yeah, you can look at it again like the body. The body is geometric. Even the cell is geometric, right? At the center of the cell is empty space. So the empty space is not leaking something. You know what I mean? It's allowing the cell to actually, like a torus, to regenerate itself, to self-repair. That's how cells and organs actually can self-repair. Right. So in the same way, space, it functions in this way. You have to have entry and exit points, so to speak, to circulate the energy, the cosmic energy coming in.
Correct. But there's
Does that
also
make
like dark matter and different forms of energy within space that we don't have here, too. There's also
Yes.
a difference. Yeah. So
Yeah, they don't know anything about dark matter. I mean, like it's almost like they
Made it up.
yeah. The scientists are, they see all of this mass and they don't know what to describe it, or let's just call it dark matter.
Stays where it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's all, again, it's a consciousness at the base of everything, and from consciousness emerges all different types of energies and life forms, whether it's a physical body such as the Earth or the Sun or a star system, or an intelligent being, an intelligent life. So, but at the base, it's all connected with the same fabric, the same substance.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe that dark matter that they're looking at, the stuff they're calling dark matter, is actually consciousness
Exactly.
that has manifested itself as a solid.
Exactly. That's exactly what I think. But, you can't,
Nice.
say, you can't mention the C word, to some scientists, because they don't know what it is. They just they won't go there. And sometimes they mix it with, people who kind of try to do some sort of trick, like a spoon bending or some stuff like that, and say, oh, that's not real. This is all fake stuff, and don't pay attention, and we can't prove it. And that's not true. If you really, really look at the evidence, if you really look into this subject, you will see there's a lot of scientists who have studied the effects of consciousness on physical matter, so if people really want to take the time to do that, they will find a lot of evidence.
Well, I know that consciousness is directly related to remote viewing, and remote viewing has been proven time and time again. I mean, they've succeeded in remote viewing off-world planets even. And
yeah,
then
exactly. Yeah. Go ahead.
When satellites go there and photograph things on the surface, and it verifies what the remote viewer saw, that proves the point right there.
Yeah, and the government used remote viewing in their program for 20 years. I'm sure they still are doing it, but in different programs right now. I know China and Russia are still using some form of psychic spying and things like that. But for those who don't know, look at the Stargate program that in the 80s, 70s, I think it started, 80s. They were literally training soldiers to remote view, to be able to see remotely what the, spy on the Russians and vice versa. Actually, it started with the Russians spying on us, and then we created this program to spy back. So if they didn't believe that was real, if they didn't have actual results, they wouldn't be spending all this money. They wouldn't be spending 20 years looking into it. They'd be like, okay, that's it. That's enough after a year. This doesn't work. But it does work.
It does work.
We have a question from the chat for Caroline.
Yes.
Caroline, are you working on a sequel?
Oh, definitely. Oh my God. It's after making this movie, I had already so many ideas for what else we can do. Don't forget, no one's ever done anything like this before. This group had never worked together before. We had never worked with them before. So even from a filmmaking point of view, it was so challenging. But we ended up learning so much from how to set it up from a filmmaking point of view, but also for that, as the instrument, the devices, we have a better way to set it up now. We want to improve, even though we had a crazy amount of equipment, very cutting edge, but now we know we need more of this, we need less of that. This didn't function very well, this keeps breaking down. We learned so much that the next one is only going to be better.
I'm just showing some of the equipment.
Yes. And we had inventions, this is a cutting edge invention. This is David Mason. and he's an inventor. Most of the pretty much all of the equipment in the film is his, actually. And so it was incredible that we were able to use this like military grade. We had the typical cameras, the regular night vision, but we also had very, very sophisticated technology, devices to measure radiation, spectrum analyzers. These inventions allowed us to capture the light signature coming off of an object and register that pattern, that light pattern, and convert it back into sound and send it back. I mean, just like crazy stuff. I've never seen anything like this before being used, especially and applied for UFO tracking and recording. I mean, so even with those technologies, we have so many different ideas what else we can do next time. And there's so much you can cram into one film, you know? So, so I have lots of ideas.
So in regards to that piece of equipment with the 3 lights that he had that created music and sent it back out to the objects that were pulsing. So they pulse and then they send that information back as music, correct?
Yes, exactly. So, so because, you know, David thinks, and I agree, that why are they pulsating? I mean, they don't need a navigation system like even us with our primitive, you know, air, you know, kind of technology, propulsion technology. Airplanes don't really need to see in front of them to know how to navigate, you know. So I'm sure if you're an extraterrestrial with advanced technology, you don't need to kind of see, you know exactly where you are. It's coordinate to coordinate to coordinate, you know, it's like, and so why are they pulsating? Light is information, holds information. And so it's holding the information of that device. So it is a form of communication. If we are able to capture that pattern, then we can tell a lot about what it is that it's broadcasting. And so that's the idea. I've never seen anybody do anything like this before. And in the film, we also had goggles that you would point at an object. In the film, we demonstrated pointing at a star. And it was fascinating because you can literally, you know, you point at a star and you hear the sound coming off of the star, like right there, you know, live in real time. You go to another star and then you hear another sound, and you go to an object and you go, you know, so the UFO would be the same thing. It would emit a specific signature, then you can study and find out what that pattern's about.
And you can rule out aircraft and satellites, right?
Of course.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Tom, any comments?
No, we kind of touched on some of this before, you know, that they were able to not only they were able to triangulate everything for the most part to prove with the different types of cameras that it had a heat, that it was a solid object, right? And so you were able to lock it, you were able to really confirm that this is a solid vessel. And then at times a solid vessel would just be there 1 minute and gone the next. And they were able to prove it not just by one, you know, because you can always question one camera, even maybe 2. But 3 that are reading different signatures. No, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, triangulation is another problem that, you know, the typical footage that we see out there is missing. And so we wanted to definitely be able to capture something from different angles, because then you learn more. You have a lot more data to study and see, oh, well, if it, you know, kind of tilted this way in this direction. And so yeah, but to be fair, not all captures that we have in the film were triangulated. So I just want to kind of clarify that. So we were set up to triangulate anything, but what we ended up showing, because I picked like the most striking things that we found. Obviously I'm making a film and we can't cram, you know, hundreds of hours of data. And so I picked the most exciting ones and unusual ones. And some of those were not necessarily triangulated. So I just want to kind of clarify that. But we were definitely set up to do so.
I understand that there's over 600 hours of footage and data that you're still looking at, correct?
Oh my God! I think it's 600 hours of just the FLIR camera. So and each hour is that's 216,000 frames because it's 60 frames per
Wow.
second. So, and because you look at the footage frame by frame, and so of course they have software now where you can kind of go through it a little bit faster, but still you have to pay. A lot of the things that we've captured are things that normally, like if you don't know what you're looking at or you're going too fast, you'd miss it. So that's why it's I think Matthew came up with this software, and there are other people too, with the software where, like, right away if it's a bird or if it's a bug or an aircraft, like right away you just don't even need to go there, or a satellite, but then it will study the ones that are anomalous and let you see it frame by frame. So it's about, I think, 600 hours of FLIR, I think 3,000 hours, if I'm not mistaken, of radiation data. And I think 2,300 hours of like regular camera data. I mean, crazy. I mean, we also had a random number generator. And I don't even know if we were able to look into that data at all. So the scientists are still, looking through all of that, and it's going to take them months. They are going to write a science paper, which also that's a first, never been done before. A scientific paper on UFOs, where? So they're working on that, but there's still a lot more data to go through.
I also heard that you actually had weather data confirming all of this.
Yeah, so especially that was with the last capture. People saw that in the film, the wormhole thing. So without getting into too much detail, people just need to watch that film. I mean, it is just so, I mean, and not just once. I think I have a lot of people who watched it. They're texting us and emailing us and say, oh my God, I watched it 3 times, So it's one of those films where you want to study it again and look at it again. And it's kind of fun to watch anyway. And so at the end, when we literally captured what the title said, a tear in the sky, something that seemed to open and close, revealing actual objects. So I'm not going to give out more details than that, but it is in the trailer. So, so with this particular anomaly, it was so crazy and unusual because these were actual physical objects that were measured, and it was the radar that helped us identify these as reflective objects, because the radar doesn't pick up on radiation. I mean, not that type of radar. And so that was also very, very helpful to get that information from radar to tell us we're not crazy. These are actual objects appearing within that opening and closing.
Were those actual objects measured in length and size?
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, so people will see that in the film, but the ones that are in the wormhole, I mean, we're calling it a wormhole. Of course, wormholes are being studied and investigated, so we're just using it as a reference term. But so these objects were measured by one of the scientists, and they ended up being about 35 to 50 feet in length. And so, and there seemed to be long, also like a Tic Tac. And in fact, they're the same size as the estimated Navy Tic Tac as well, which is crazy.
And this was overseas, correct?
Overseas? What do you mean?
And the radar was from a ship, correct?
No.
Where was
No, it was right above. So it was that wormhole anomaly thing was detected from Laguna Beach, like.
Oh, the beach. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was it in the center of the triangulation area, the wormhole?
It was, it was, but but we captured it only from the Laguna side.
Right.
At the time, yes, we didn't have. I don't think this one was triangulated from the Catalina side, but this event had incredible correlations with radiation, and also it didn't match anything. Like, for example, we looked into the possibility of radiation because it looked like little sparkling things, that not sparkling, but kind of reflective things that were coming out and back behind a sort of an opening or a cloud type thing. And so we looked at all the different possibilities. Maybe it's a solar flare, or maybe it's this, maybe. So this particular anomaly was looked at across multiple, like from many different aspects, and nothing is checking out. Nothing.
I was always wondering if those little specks were actually reflections of light coming through the wormhole and not actually objects. But if you've actually measured mass, then that would indicate that that is not the case, that they are objects. The thing I also noticed was one of the scientists said that it was like 700 to 800 miles an hour to close that wormhole.
Yeah, exactly. So if a normal cloud is not gonna, it doesn't make sense. So it wasn't a normal cloud. It's something else that closed that thing. And if it is just light particles, so what happened was, first of all, the radar told us it isn't physical, like a reflective object, and there was an actual size. And also, when the object, the whole, the cloud, the wormhole thing, whatever, closed, there were a few objects that came out of it. And that was interesting, so it's almost like, so it's very fascinating. I've yet to actually, I'm talking to a few scientists who watched the film, and I'm like, do you have a sense of what that could be? They're asking for more information because in the movie, we are making a movie, right? So we're putting as much explanation as possible. But this isn't, a science conference where, you're going to go into details and mathematical formulas and things like that. You lose the audience so fast. And so we're hoping, we're having other scientists look at it and tell us, well, we think maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I haven't had anybody yet come and tell me, oh, this is known as blah, 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 And don't forget, the two scientists that are in the movie, one of them his specialty is exoplanet. All he does is all he does, I'm sure he does more, but basically his specialty is to discover bodies in the cosmos, whether it's a planet or this or a star. And the other scientist, Matthew, is a dark matter specialty scientist. And so all he looks at is energy, like different types of energy, different types of phenomena, radiations and stuff like that in space. So we have like these two disciplines that are perfect to study something like this. And if they have no clue,
So I've got a question.
Yes.
With regard to the footage that you caught, not what's just in the film, but with what you might already have or looked at or after the fact, and with regard to the vessels that are appearing and disappearing, when you saw that, was there any that did that without a cloud effect, or did it almost always mimic some type of a cloud?
Well, we only saw that once. So it's not like, it's not like we saw it every day, so it was only,
Curious.
It was only once. And also we had footage of the same part of the sky, like just before and right after.
Okay.
So it was an event. It wasn't, you know what I mean? So it's just
I guess my point is, do you think that when they do that, it creates or mimics a type of cloud, so it also kind of allows this to happen out of sight to some degree.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, yeah, maybe if like you were looking at it because it's so fast, it opened and closed so fast. So maybe like if you were looking up with the naked eye without studying, frame by frame and with all these instruments and stuff, you probably would miss it. In fact, I love your questions because I think this is happening all the time. There are things opening and closing. The eye is not going to catch that sort of speed, is not paying attention. So we'd be looking up to the sky thinking, oh, it's a cute little cloud, and off you go,
But it is possible they kind of use the clouds to hide themselves a little bit and then mimic a cloud as they come and go.
Yeah, it's possible too. I think it's a different type of phenomenon because I've seen those before. Where the cloud literally looks like a ship. I mean, it was like, wow, So I've seen those as well. What's so funny, you reminded me about one of the sightings I've had in Las Vegas. I remember I was in this hotel, like at a very high floor. And so there was like clouds, just passing by. And then there was this one cloud that was like, still, it had a weird shape, of course, like of some sort of elongated thing. And it was just there for like 20 minutes and all the other clouds were passing by. So in other words, if it's a cloud and it's windy, it's supposed to be like kind of moving along with the others, but it just kind of stayed there. It's like, come on, really? And then all of a sudden it was just gone.
Yeah, there have been stories about things like that. So ships hiding behind clouds, that happens quite often.
For sure.
In regards to the opening, quarter mile wide, 700 miles an hour. You would think that would cause some type of weather anomaly to be noticed on radar. Did you get that?
No, it just looked like a cloud. It just looked like a concentration of something, but anything. And then, so of course we looked at different types of anomalies, like what is it called? A streak, something. Oh, geez, I'm forgetting. Fall streak cloud, where it's like the crystals fall from a cloud and create a hole. That happens a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so of course we looked at that. Maybe that is a weather anomaly, but that's not possible because first of all, it wasn't cold. It was July and it was very low. So it's like, like there's nothing ice or crystal, like there's no way. It was way too low, way too close, way too warm. So that's not the case. So that's why, I'm hoping, I don't know what I'm hoping. I want to think of it as a wormhole, of course, but if some, weather special, meteorologist or some scientist that understands that science comes and tells us, oh, we know this phenomenon very well. It is called blah, blah, blah. But how come we don't see it? How come we don't know anything about it? And how come these scientists, like I'm not a scientist, but these scientists, you would think they would recognize it as such an anomaly.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just have a question from the chat room. Someone was asking, what type of camera did you use to capture the wormhole?
The wormhole actually was a regular CCD camera, as a high definition camera. And so that was one of the, the cameras that we captured the wormhole with. Yeah.
Cool.
And it correlated with, I don't want to give it up. People should watch the movie, It's
you gotta watch the movie, guys.
Story. We're telling the whole story, but because part of the whole discovery, it's like watching the movie. It's like you're going along with the discovery, and so it's a lot of fun.
There's a lot of science in the movie to everyone who's watching, and you really have to pay attention to the science because the science is what's validating what they found, and that gives it a lot of credence. And how we've all wanted proof, we all want proof that this is real or this is valid. This film does indicate that. So please go out and watch the film. Tom?
Yeah, we were a while back. You were talking about why some of these things aren't seen and the speed of things. And if I'm not mistaken, in a conversation we had before, if I'm not mistaken, there was something clocked between 20 and 50,000 miles an hour.
Yes, so this is another anomaly that we captured. These are the raining ones, and so what happened? This is another crazy one that I've never seen before. Things just like literally flying down, hitting the water, and you could see the reflection on hitting the water, and some of them are actually illuminating the water, and some of them actually popping out of the water, which is crazy. And so David Mason was able to, because that was caught on the FLIRs. And just for those who are listening, the type of FLIR cameras, because you can buy FLIR cameras for $500 or whatever. The type of cameras that we had were like military grade. Basically, each camera is like $50,000, and we had 8 of them, basically covering the entire sky. And so we captured those very fast raining coming down objects, and David Mason was able to look at it very carefully, and he was able to calculate the speed. It was an estimate, but even as an estimate, it was something like 20,000 miles an hour or something insane. So even if he's off by 50%, it's a crazy amount of speed that these things were traveling at.
He was also saying that the objects were about 69 feet in size. That's individually each one. That's crazy.
Yeah. So people should watch and see how we came up with these explanations. And
Yes.
it's when I was making the film, and of course I had to. I wanted a lot of science, but also I'm trying to make this accessible to the mainstream, even to the UFO people. Not that everybody's into details, not everybody's a scientist. And so when I showed the film to the distributor, they loved it and everything else, but they were like, there's too much science, there's too much detail. Can you, take out, bring it down a notch? So we still had to keep some of the information, but there's a lot more, and so I just want people to kind of like what you're saying, Tim. They have to watch it. Go ahead. They have to watch it again and pay attention. And even that, there's even more coming.
So who actually paid for all this?
I did.
Wow.
Yes, I saw Tom's question actually. Was that Tom asking about that or somebody else?
Thomas Fessler. Yeah.
Hey, Tom, good to see you. So what happened was I decided to go out and do it. I looked for an investor, and actually I had an investor, but he came in late. And so the more I kept kind of going, through the pre-production and putting the film together, the more I was realizing I just have to do this. I have to do this. By the time I had the team together, and the equipment is insane, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and David Mason's genius, with all these inventions, and nobody. As a filmmaker, the first thing you do is you see who else has done something like this. No one's had ever done anything like this, UFO or otherwise. And so I was just convinced. I was like, I'm doing this no matter what. And so I was spending my money. I did have a couple of sponsors to cover just a small part of it, tiny part, but still that was helpful too. So I'm very grateful. But it was mostly my investment, because I really believe in this thing.
A lot of people are saying, thank you, Caroline, for your efforts and the money that you put into the film, because either they've seen the film or they're going to see the film, and it's going to impact their lives. So thank you.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I was so convinced, and now it's out for rental like for $4 or something like that. So there's really no excuse. I think even the purchase is like $10 or something. I think it's if people want to show their support, is to not just watch it but leave a review and share it. For $4 or $12, it's like the price of a Starbucks these days. You know what I mean?
Right.
That it just gives me the ability to do more. First, I'd like to recoup everything that I spend, which was my savings, and just keep going, because we started something that's huge, huge. And to be honest, I mean, I don't want to give credit, but I kind of do. I feel like this feel like whatever's happening in the government right now, the hearing coming up, there's the congressional hearing. That's crazy. The reports that was just released, a 1,500-page report. I mean, we've been talking about effects, coming in contact with some craft, having physiological effects on our body, radiation, nightmares, abductions, spontaneous pregnancies or whatever. We've been talking about this for years,
Right.
putting out this information over and over, whistleblowers. And I go to conferences, I speak at conferences. The room is filled. It's like 3,000 people in the room, and it's also a live stream at the same time. And we're talking about abductions and contact experiences, and people are in tears. Nobody leaves the room. It's like so many people are affected by this whole conversation, that I feel the more we put out this information, the more the government, I feel, needs to say something. They can't just keep ignoring like we're all crazy. So I feel with this film as well, we are the first ones. We're civilians. I have no government backing whatsoever. And we are the ones putting out hundreds of hours of data, even in just this little film. So you're not going to tell me, like Tom was saying, if in 5 days we collected so much, there's no way the government is going to come out and say, oh, we don't have anything, or we don't know anything, with all their radars and all their satellites. They are sitting on thousands of hours of data, so that's what this film is also proving, is saying,
Right.
please don't tell us you don't know where the data is, please, because and so what I'm saying is, as we're doing this work and I'm putting out this film and other people are talking about all of this, I think we're pushing the government also. I'm sure they have their own agenda, don't get me wrong, but we're also triggering that response. They cannot come out and say now publicly, we don't have data. Does that make sense?
Yes. They're being forced into a corner to where they have to reveal what's going on. They cannot lie anymore.
Exactly. And that's what I'm hoping to do with my work, with this film. That's why I felt like just invest. It doesn't matter. Just go for it. I'm just trying to contribute to the bigger story, just whatever I can do to push the disclosure, the truth to come out.
Make a difference.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have something that I want to play real quick here. This is a teaser. I want everybody to pay attention to this, please.
On November 10th, I started to notice some really strange contacts off the coast of Catalina.
During those workups, we tracked unknown aircraft for several days.
This is the contacts here at 28,000 feet going south about 100 knots, and I'm thinking to myself, I've never seen anything fly like that. I had 15 and a half years actual sea time sitting behind that radar.
Very good teaser. Thank you for providing that, Caroline.
Sure.
Everybody go out and see the film. I've already seen it twice. I know that Tom is going to see it, and I don't know if he's seen it or not, but I have, like I said, and it is a very good film. some films that come out are not necessarily quantifiable, but in this case, this one is because it's scientifically proven. So wait for the scientific paper that's coming out. When the scientific paper comes out and is submitted to wherever they decide to submit it, I'm sure that we can get some information from Caroline and find out where that paper is and maybe bring up what their findings were and release that to the public. Right, Caroline?
Yeah, absolutely. So the UAPX team is doing the data analysis right now, but also as part of the film, I'm also sponsoring the science paper as well because it was part of the expedition. So I'll make sure I know what's, when it's going to be released or what's going on. But right now the team is like looking into what else we found and how it all correlates and basically, but it's going to take months. I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. It's just a lot of work.
It might even take a couple of years. Yeah.
I mean, they do have a deadline technically, but it could still get extended, I guess, if they need more time.
We all look at it this way. I'm sure Tom will concur. The fact that you got anything at all is amazing.
I know.
And for you to capture what you did is something that's groundbreaking. I've never seen the footage of the wormhole ever before. Not like that.
And
so
that people is not hoaxed. That without a doubt is legit.
Yeah, it is 100% legit. You need to take a look at it. You need to see the film and see it up close. Slow it down and watch it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Tom, do you have any last words?
No, it was a privilege again, and I look forward to seeing you in Roswell. And
yes, I'm going to be. Tim, are you also? Tom is in Roswell. Or Tim?
I can't make it to Roswell, but Tom is going to represent me, I hope, in Roswell. So we're kind of collaborating together and networking. So hopefully he'll represent UFO Man down there.
I can do that. Give my word.
I'm seeing a lot of questions too, but I'm going to let you monitor that, and we'll do more of these as well. So great.
Here's another thank you, Caroline, for participating.
Yes, I see a lot of the thank yous, and I so appreciate it. I mean, I really appreciate it. And like I said, my work is about just bringing out the truth. Like, I'm investing my own, I'm not backed by any corporate or certainly not government, organization. So I'm kind of on my own. So that's the reason why I really appreciate when, I mean, when you guys appreciate the work and what we're trying to do, I think it's great. So if you like the film, kind of put a review, tell your friends. It's such a small price, to get that sort of product, so to speak, information that's never been seen before. So any support, I appreciate.
Paranormal Underworld, we already answered this. Yes, she's working on a sequel. So there might be a part 2 to A Tear in the Sky. So keep your fingers crossed.
Actually, it's more like a series.
A series. There you go. It's a series. Everyone, we can look forward to more from this excellent director.
So you don't have to rename it again.
Yeah, right?
Sky 2, Tear in the Sky 3.
Yeah. And I think I told you, I called the movie A Tear in the Sky 2 years ago.
Before you even shot it.
Yeah. Before I shot it, I was like, because I'm interested in those nodes, talking about those vertex points.
Yeah. And it just resonated with you and you did something with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So much.
Lot of thanks out there for you, Caroline.
Awesome.
You're very well appreciated by the people in the chat room, and we want to thank you for coming this evening. Very much for sharing your time with us as well. you've been very gracious and open-minded and sharing all the information that you could without giving away the whole film. I really appreciate that. Tom, I thank you as well for being the fill-in co-host tonight. You did a wonderful job. There's one special thing that we want to do. This live stream is being dedicated to the memory of Tom's nephew. Tom, do you want to add to that or no?
I really appreciate that. Yeah, my brother's son, who was 17, lost his life on April 28th. Long story, but it's in the Chicago papers. Anyway, I really appreciate you doing that. Tim, thanks so much.
So this video interview is dedicated to Wyatt Reed. May he fly with angels.
Wow.
Okay, that's for you, Tom.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody for participating in the chat room, everybody who watched online, and from myself and Tom, we want to wish you a good night. Caroline, any last words?
Thank you so much for doing this. We're all doing our part. So Tom, in this really, really difficult time, my heart goes out to you, really, to be able to come and do this show. So I so appreciate it. And Tim as well. I feel like we're all in this together. So as you are providing this platform, I'm also continuously creating projects to help push the truth out. So I wish and I hope that especially this community, would work more closely together and stop worrying about the little things here and there and just look at the bigger picture, how we're all contributing in our own way and to support each other. So that's what I'm hoping will happen with this film. So thank you so much for this opportunity tonight, and I'm very grateful.
You're more than welcome, and you're welcome to come back anytime, Caroline.
Thank you.
Okay, so from all of us on the panel, good evening and good night.